Now, I kept saying that there are 613 mitzvot. We learned that from here, where it says in Bereshit, in Genesis Lamed Bet 32, it says, Im Lavan Garti. With Laban, I dwelled. Yaakov, Jacob was telling whoever it was to tell Esau, when he comes, to tell him that he stayed with Laban, and he remained righteous. And Rashi, one of the commentaries, say, Im Lavan Garti, the word Garti, if you take the numerical value again, the gematria, it's 613. So he was saying, with Lavan Garti v'tayag mitzvot shamarti. I did the 613 mitzvot. He was alluding to when he said I lived, he meant I lived with doing the 613, because it's the same numerical value. So I just wanted to bring the point up that there's 613 mitzvot. But wait a minute, we just were quoting the 10 commandments. So which one is it? Is it 613 or is it 10? Why do we enumerate 10 commandments if there's 613 laws? And like I said, the Maimonides goes through the 613 laws with great amount of commentary. Now there's another verse, I just want to ask I want to give the same question in another light, and then we'll answer them. In Deuteronomy, Devarim Yud Aleph 11, it says, Ki'im shamor tishmerun, if you will surely keep, et kol ha-mitzvah hazot, all these commandments that I command you, and then good things will happen to you, whatever the blessings are. But the question is, it says like this, if you will surely keep et kol ha-mitzvah, okay, and you have to know the Hebrew for this. Et kol means all, ha-mitzvah, the command, not commandments, and all. So what's going on here? It doesn't say the commandments. Why does it say one command? And then it says all. So all what? You just said one command. It says et kol ha-mitzvah. It basically doesn't make sense. I mean, we just read it. Yeah, okay, it means the mitzvot. But you have to understand the grammar here. So this is how we're going to answer it. Okay, and we'll get back to that. There's really 10 commandments, right, that we know of. Also, it's a good idea if you study the 10 commandments and know them very well, because I'm going to show you what comes out of there. There's really 10 commandments. Those are 10 out of the 613. But those 10 themselves aren't just 10 commandments. They're really 10 categories. They're 10 categories. Where did those come from? I'm not going to get to now. From when God created the world, there was also 10 categories, but we'll talk about that another time. But there are 10 categories of law, and all the 613 fit into any one of those 10 categories. Okay? So there's 10, and then the 613 fit nicely inside the 10 as derivatives or offshoots, whatever you want to call them, stemming out. Okay? I'll just give you a few examples. It says, I am Hashem your God, and then it says, you should not have gods before me, which is the commandment of Avodah Zarah, idolatry. Now, if you look at the Rambam again, idolatry takes up 51 commandments. You know, don't commit idolatry isn't just one thing. Don't worship idols, not just one thing. There's 51 things not to do. Don't worship a certain tree, a certain thing, different things that if you look through, it tells you a list of 51 of them. So those 51 will fit into commandment number 2. See? And all 613 will do that. Now, which commandments do you think would fall into the Sabbath category? Because one of the 10 commandments is to keep the Sabbath, Shabbat. Which of the 613 laws do you think would fit into that? So it would be all the holidays. The holidays are really time periods, just like Shabbat is a time period. So they would fall into that. It's called a moed. Even Shabbat is called a moed, a time period. With moed, it starts with Shabbat. So Shabbat's in the holiday section already, we see. Now just another quick one. Lo tachmod, you shall not covet. And in Devarim, Deuteronomy, it says you shall not have desire for whatever it is, as we see. Those things take up all the dietary laws, the kashrut. Don't eat this and don't eat that, because it has to do with the ta'ava, the desire of different things. And that would be there. All the forbidden relationships would go in lo tin'ah. You shall not commit adultery, and so on. Without getting into the 10, actually the Rav Saadia Gaon, he made a poem of Azharot, which we say on Shavuot, of the 613 falling into the 10 Commandments. He made a nice poem like that in a book called Sefer HaMitzvot, which you can look it up. Now, it says at the end, Asher lere'echa, which means at the end of the 10 Commandments, it says, V'chol asher lere'echa, and everything that is your friends, that you shall not covet. Okay? Now, first of all, there's another idea. The 10 Commandments, if you count them up, all the letters of the 10 Commandments, there's 613. So that's another proof that the 10 Commandments hold within it the 613 Commandments, you see? Now the truth is there's really 620 because Asher Lerecha, which is 7 words, is at the end. Okay, now what does that come into? Because there are 7 major rabbinic laws that the rabbis gave, and that's really Asher Lerecha, which means of your friend the rabbis. So it's alluding to the 613 plus the 7 of your friend of the rabbis, okay? And that comes out to an even 613 plus 7. Now what are those 7? I'll just tell you real quickly a way to remember it. Asher Lerecha, what are the 7 laws of the rabbis that they made? Aleph for Asher stands for Esther, which is Purim. Esther. Shin, when you think of Esther and Purim, you think of Chanukah, which the Shin would stand for Shemen, oil. You see, Asher, we're trying to get like a little code. Resh would be Rechitza, which is to wash our hands in a certain way in the morning. Okay? And for bread. Asher. Now, Lere'echa, this is a little stretch one, but I had nothing else to pull it from. It says, there's a verse that says, Lashem, to Hashem ha'aretz umloah, is the land in its fullness, and that means God owns everything. But when we make a bracha, when we make a blessing, then we're allowed to partake of that thing, whether it's to smell something or to eat something, etc. So when you make a bracha, you're taking something that belonged to Hashem and taking it for yourself. So the lamed of Lere'echa stands for Lashem ha'aretz, which means brachot, the idea of making blessings. All the blessings that we say that come from the rabbis. Okay? Now Lere'echa, again a resh. Resh this time stands for Rina, which is song, which is the law of Hallel, that we read Hallel on certain days. Rosh Chodesh or holidays or whenever. Now this is an easy one. Ayin stands for Eruv, perfect ayin for Eruv, all the laws of Eruvin, there are 3 of them, without getting into that. And then Chaf stands for Kevod Shabbat, which is the honor of Shabbat, which is the lighting of the Shabbat candles, which also was an enactment from the rabbis. That's why it's Kivod Shabbat. It's not Shabbat, because Shabbat itself was from the Torah, but it's the Kivod Shabbat aspect that really came from the rabbis. So a kaf is a perfect way to remember that. So you have the 10 commandments and Asher Lerecha, the 7 commandments from the rabbis. You have a nice, even 10 commandments with all their derivatives in there. Okay? Now the Ramchal says, which we said we're going to quote from this book, Bezrat Hashem. He says in different places that a person who studies Hashkafa, which is this commandment of knowing God and His world, will hold a special place in heaven, in Olam Haba, in the future world, when he passes away.